Peace to the species. Welcome to the ALDOR-29 podcast for March 31st, 2020. It's my first podcast, so thank you for joining. Welcome. Basically, the way this works, I just go off the cuff, whatever comes to mind, I'll just start babbling about it. Mm. So, one of the most pertinent topics today is COVID 19, coronavirus disease 2019 out of China. And, I started taking this seriously, I want to say March 12th. Before then, I thought people were going overboard. I was receiving texts and emails that this event was canceled, and I'm not even in school anymore, but I get texts from CUNY. I went to Mega Evers talking about, Mega Evers school is closed for the remainder of the semester and classes will be taken indoors. And I'm just like, wow, what is going on? Personally, I didn't start taking this virus seriously until I saw on TV. I was watching, I was looking for something to watch, and obviously the virus was being spoken about, but I was just trying to avoid that because I didn't want it to be a part of my personal reality. I didn't want to accept that things were changing so drastically. Because the first inclination that I got that things would be changing drastically is my mother bought hand sanitizer to the house, and she's like, "Oh, take this hand sanitizer, go buy two hand sanitizers." And I'm just like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa." Like, so you're saying that this virus is just going to alter the way that we do things? We've never had this much hand sanitizer, this many cleaning products in the house. Now suddenly, but yeah, I mean, whether I was willing to accept it at the time or not, we're going to have to adapt because this virus is highly infectious. It has a This is my understanding of the virus, and then I'll get into when I actually started taking it seriously. This is my understanding. The virus, it has a 2 to 14 day incubation period. It can be transmitted through physical contact, being in close proximity to other people. It lives on surfaces. Sorry to say, it does. You hear one report that it lives on this surface for 24 hours, it lives on this surface for a few hours, it lives on this surface for a couple days. I've heard that it can live in a freezer for 2 years, but I've also heard that there was a cruise ship and it still had coronavirus specimens remaining on the cruise ship after 17 days. So, my thing about this so-called, coronavirus, it's not just about the affliction, this this virus. It's everything that surrounds it. It's just the uncertainty. It's the life-changing aspect of it. Because the coronavirus, a virus is one thing, but when it shuts down industries, that's an entirely different thing. And that's when I noticed I'm watching TV, and you can just expect to just sit in front of your TV and just be thoroughly distracted. Whether you enjoy the nonsense that's playing or not, it's just something to distract you from whatever. You're dealing with whatever turmoil, however you interface with the world. It affects your personality, it affects your behavior, however it does, and it makes you who you are. There are some aspects of that you want to avoid. You might turn the TV on. I don't usually watch Bill Maher, Real Time with Bill Maher. I haven't watched it religiously in more than a couple years, but I just put it on HBO, and I see I see he's talking to an audience of nobody basically, and it's just people peppered throughout, people who actually work on the set, and people are implementing social distancing, and he's talking about the virus and how there's not going to be a show next week. And I'm like, wait a second, are people actually seriously doing this? And then John Oliver comes on and he's in a white room and, he's talking about the coronavirus. And I'm just sitting down, soaking up as much of this as I can because I was totally ignoring all of this information up until that point. So to me, this was just like, wow, like this is a big deal. I haven't, I haven't experienced anything like this since 9/11. So, it's just a very uncertain time, just like 9/11 was a very uncertain time. But, the difference between this and 9/11, I feel, is that this is an actual force of nature. 9/11 was, it was whatever it was, there are conspiracy theories around that, just like there are conspiracy theories around this. It was gangsterism from the people up top, or it was terrorism, or what have you. And as for this, some people will say, it's a natural virus. Other people will say it's 5G towers that are operating at 60 hertz and cutting off oxygen that operates at 60 hertz, and this is why people are having respiratory problems. And other people will say that it was intentionally constructed by China. Other people will say that it's a hoax, it's no worse than the flu, and it's being implemented for whatever reason to implement martial law and, police states. But, honestly, the way I feel about that is is if I'm gonna be honest, is that, black people in America have been living in police states since they got here, so, not much changes in that regard. But, some might argue that it's gonna intensify. Fair enough, if it spurs and then intensifies, then fair enough. But my attitude towards that is, you know, maintain inner peace. This isn't the time to be panicking at all. It feels like the water's rising above you because, if it depends, you embody that which you consume. So if you're just constantly watching the news, and the news is nothing but, it's a media machine. It's gonna dole out what you want to hear. It's gonna dole out, oh, this is the worst virus ever, death tolls, and because death is just such a, oh, it's just so anti-life, and it's so anti-thought. It's just the lack of thinking, the lack of movement. It's just so unsettling as an idea that it's just so easy to sell fear. And fear is a virus. There, like I was saying, there are more aspects to this virus than the biological hazard. There's the fear aspect that attacks the central nervous system, that can disrupt the breathing in its own right. The paranoia around this thing, and the economic impact it has. Industries are shutting down. People are getting laid off. People have been laid off, excuse me. Schools are shut down. Children are at home. Who knows the quality of schooling they're receiving there. A lot of people, into holistic lifestyles and things like that, and we should be homeschooling. We're going to see what they're made of, because now you have the perfect opportunity to homeschool your child. So what do you equip with them with when they go back out into the world? And specifically, I'm talking to black people. You go into these schools, they're teaching your children nonsense. They're teaching your children to believe in this American nonsense. And, to my people who know what I'm talking about, it's like, how are you equipping them to combat that? So that's what I got to say about that. But yeah, things change, but sheesh, like, I wasn't prepared for this one either, but that's the nature of the thing. It's just that, my biggest disappointment about this, just going off the official story, is basically, or what I've constructed of what I'd like to call the official story is, China basically hid this. So, China's been dealing with this since November. They've been silencing people, picking them up in black vans. There's, video footage. I don't speak Chinese per se, but, Chinese people resisting arrest, taking video of body bags and things like that. And then, next thing you know, according to the videographer, the Chinese person is snatched up and he disappears. And from my understanding, it's happened at least 8 times. So, that's very sus. I see that as a cover up on China's part. So, my hatred for China intensifies daily because they've unleashed this, they've opened Pandora's box and unleashed this pandemic on the entire planet. This is, they should be made to pay, and so should politicians. Politicians who just dismiss this, American politicians who just dismiss this as nothing. Russia closed its borders, I believe, either early February or late January. And that's why they've been able to mitigate this issue. Whereas in the United States, Trump he downplayed the whole thing. Oh, you can't, it's not a big deal, blah, 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 da, 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 da. And unfortunately for a lot of us, he's a total idiot and he's the most influential person in the United States. So whether you like him personally or not, what he says, a lot of people are going to go by. I can have my opinion. My opinion can be dead on. It can be right. It can be what's right. But people don't listen to me. If you're listening to this podcast, more than likely people don't, you don't have that much influence on how the general population conduct themselves. So what he says is going to go. That's just the level of power that you have when you occupy that seat. So you have an idiot in office, and he's just going to say dumb things as he always has, and, we're going to suffer for it. So I think that politicians, Trump and his ilk, should also be made to answer for this. I don't think people should be silenced with $1,200 or whatever the case may be. Oh, we're paying this for a month. We're paying it. No. That's just me though. I think that this situation demands change from within. And let's just get into change. Change, it's inevitable. It's a part of reality. It just is. Everything changes. Haiti has been on fire for the longest time. You know what I mean? There's always revolution in Haiti, and then it's just ebb and flow. You can't have ebb without flow. But I think in the United States, and I've been discussing this for years, in the United States, it's just this complacency, manageable ebbs and flows, just concentrate the hatred to the scapegoats, the disenfranchised people, and then people won't notice when they're being screwed because, hey, they got it worse than us. Well, guess what? This virus doesn't care about your gender, about your age, about your sexual orientation, about your sexual identity or whatever, gender identity or whatever, or your race. It's just gonna indiscriminately attack all of us. Guess what? Human beings. That's what we all are. So that's just how that goes. But still, out of the uncertainty, here's one thing you can be sure of, ego rears its ugly head. It's like people have this cognitive dissonance. It's very resilient. And it's just, oh, how can I make $1 out of this? How can I recover? How can I push that one down in a crab in a barrel situation where I'm getting up over on that person? It's a whole community of people who think like that. I think you should just let them drag each other down. But I think that you should be at peace with yourself for when people start acting up noticeably. Because I don't know how long this can be maintained. People just going along with the get along or stay indoors. You already see people getting bored. People going to the park when they shouldn't be going to the park. People going anywhere, really, having block parties in Brooklyn. There was a block party the other day, Now they're going to start finding people out here. If you're outside, it's very dangerous out there because this virus, it's very ferocious. It attacks the lungs. It attacks your breathing. Some people, because there are mild cases too, but some people say it feels like, and not just necessarily elderly people, there are young people suffering too. So you just don't know what it's going to be like if you don't already have the virus when you get it, and testing is very limited. So, it's very hard for some people to breathe. And listen, I'm very uninformed on this topic, but like I said, it'd be off the cuff, but I don't know how long it takes to come out with a vaccine. They said Ebola. Well, when I say they, I heard. I watched it in a video. I don't have the link to the video right now, but I heard that Ebola, it took 5 years to find a cure for Ebola, which up until the point that I'd seen that video, I wasn't aware Ebola had a cure. But then it makes you wonder about viruses like AIDS. Like, why doesn't AIDS have a cure? Why, what is so special about AIDS that it can't be cured? Why don't we just have a cure for AIDS, but we can declare that we have a cure for Ebola? We can declare that we're working on a cure for COVID, SARS-CoV-2, I believe it's called, this novel coronavirus. It's just, it's all just sus gangsterism from the higher ups, it's just whatever. But, you know, it's just part of the uncertainty that's going around. But from this uncertainty, you have all types of wickedness that's sure to issue forth into the future. We have to combat that with empathy and compassion. And it starts with finding strength from within. You have to stay strong. You have to stay informed. You know what I mean? You can't let people put the wool over your eyes. You can't let politicians are going to try to gangster their way through this. So you can't let them just do whatever they want to do. Like, oh, listen, give us your freedoms just like you did in 9/11. You know what I mean? The world used to be one way, and we want to lead this new world order. We can't keep letting these people take control whenever global change is instituted. You know what I mean? They have no right to monopolize what's going on. Do you understand? They're not qualified. These people, they showed that they're not qualified. This country has shown that it's not prepared to take care of its people, that it's prepared to devour its people. This is a beast. So I only say that to say change, suffering, non-self, those are three marks of existence. You got to find your own peace, and you got to come out of this, and you got to reclaim your own dignity as a human being. You got to come out of this metamorphosed and transformed and transcendent. You know what I mean? You got to be the best version, the most self-actualized version of yourself that you can be. Don't let the government tell you, don't let anybody, a politician, I don't care, tell you, look, this is what you need to be. This is what, no. Don't let anyone limit you. But be compassionate. Like, I'm sorry if it seems like I'm just flip-flopping between subjects here, but I'm just thinking, like, I was watching this I used to be subscribed to this YouTube channel. I do calisthenics, and this YouTube channel, it was a huge inspiration because, this person, he goes out, he does calisthenics, he shows you how to do certain moves and things like that. So I was following his channel for a couple years. I had to unfollow him just because of the ignorance. He's shooting a video, his friends in the video, they're all at the park congregated. Since for the past 2 weeks, they've been putting up videos. These videos have been popping up in my recommendeds. And these dudes are still at these parks in Brooklyn doing these push-ups, doing these muscle-ups, pull-ups, squats, Wingate Park, all this, you know what I mean? Weights and all that, dips. And it's just, bro, like, do you realize that you being out there, you don't even know how many people to risk and danger yourself. You're going back home. You're going wherever else you're going while you're out doing this just to show that you can, just so you can say, oh, golden seal and echinacea and I'm spry, I'm healthy, immune system, blah, 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 nonsense, man. But you're endangering human lives at the end of the day. So I can't respect that. I had to unsubscribe because I just see these people out there being brazen, just like, oh, I don't care about this virus. And it's the same as the people throwing a block party to me. It's all the same. You're outside unnecessarily. You could be doing this inside, but you just want to go. It's like, to me, that's so trash because it's not even like it's like you're actually, Kings County Hospital is at capacity. All these hospitals at capacity. You're actually endangering people's lives. And you might make an argument like, oh, they could only be infecting people who are also outdoors. I don't really want to hear it. It's just all the nonsense going. People outside unnecessarily, it's just, look, man, I'm a strong believer in lessening the curb, lowering the curb, however it may go. And anyone who goes against that at this point, at this critical point to me, after witnessing what what happened, what's been happening in Italy, to me, come on, man. Like, you're homicidal, man. You're suicidal. Just, yo, you're a weirdo, man. That's just how I feel about it. Like, you can't do these exercises, these lame exercises indoors. It's not that serious. We don't need to see you at Wingate Park putting on. Like, to me, it's just whack. Speaking of Italy, man, I don't know, man. Like, I can't even Google Italy without something atrocious coming up. Just, it seems like they can't catch a break. You know, Italy, all these things, it all goes back to reality for me. It's very, just the strange nature of reality. Oh, man. Like, all right, this is how I've pieced together what I've heard. It's things I've heard here and there, but basically, all right, you got Kobe Bryant, and this is not a conspiracy. I'm just gonna put this out there. It's not. I'm not walking around thinking this, like thinking the sky is falling over it. But I'm just saying, follow me. You got Kobe Bryant. He was born in Italy, right? And then he dies. And then when he died back in, I believe, what was in it, January, late January. People were just saying it was a conspiracy, and he was killed because of work he was doing in China. The Chinese people worshipped him. Somebody told me that. I'm not really. I don't really. I don't really follow basketball stars like that. Like, sorry to say, I don't follow. I'm not interested in watching basketball like that. Watching football. So the fact that the game's over, it doesn't really impact me in any way. But he died tragically with his daughter. Rest in peace. And he comes out of Italy. He was doing work in China, right? All right, that's one part of it. All right, so Kobe, according to one source, it's like if you translate Kobe like a Google translation. I tried this myself, but I think I was a little too late. I think they might have corrected it because COVID, I think, is part of the shared or common lexicon now. So I think they actually have a transliteration for it in Hebrew. But apparently, the case was that if you translated Kobe into Hebrew, you would get a set of characters, and that if you were to copy that set of characters and then translate that set of characters from Hebrew into, actually I have it reversed. So you would translate COVID, get a set of characters, take that set of characters, then translate it from Hebrew into English, and it would give you Kobe. So basically, this Chinese virus with Kobe, who was revered by the Chinese and was doing work with the Chinese, it's a Kobe virus, and I find that preposterous. But at the same time, again, the irony is not. It's not missed. You know what I mean? It's all there, linguistically, and I really do feel like language or thoughts, units of thought, sounds, which, it's language. It's just, I think that reality is comprised of syntax. So, the irony isn't missed, and I'm not the only one who's not going to miss it. It's there. So, you know, and reality being comprised of syntax or language is an idea that I support, that's actually purported by, if you know who Terence McKenna is, he's an ethnobotanist. He was a heavy supporter of psychedelics and, psilocybin cubensis, and mushrooms, mescaline. I don't think he really was into mescaline, but DMT, definitely, proponent for DMT and all types of psychedelics. He was an expert in the field of ethnobotany and changing of the mind and paradigm shifts. And he had this one theory called novelty theory. And novelty theory just basically states that over time the universe becomes more complex, increasingly more complex. Complexity increases over time. That's his novelty theory. And to me, it's also ironic that this virus is referred to as the novel coronavirus, novelty, novel coronavirus. And now I would say things are getting more complex. The heat is definitely rising. So, in that aspect, the irony isn't missed either. But that's just how my brain is working. Since I was talking about language and Kobe and all that, and now we're talking about Terence McKenna. Now we're talking about novelty theory and the novel coronavirus. This coronavirus, I thought it was like, if you watch Dragon Ball Z, I thought initially that it was like the virus that Goku got when when he died in the future. If you don't follow Dragon Ball Z, then you're hopelessly lost right now. But because it's coronavirus, and I just thought it was a coronary virus. I thought it directly attacked and impacted the cardiovascular system. But it's more of a respiratory virus apparently. But you think coronavirus, I think of a crown. I think that this virus, this coronavirus event, it's not just a negative thing. You can't just keep consuming negative things, is all I'm saying. There's a crown. You gotta take that crown. You gotta king up. You gotta queen up. You gotta come out of this Christ-like and purified and worthy of a crown. You know what I mean? You gotta step into that light. So I don't know, it's a purification process, you know what I mean? Like, we're going through the fire. This millennial generation has long been criticized as not having gone through anything, and long been criticized. Oh, y'all ain't been through nothing, da, 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 everything is handed to you, blah. Which unfortunately, for the most part, might be true. A lot of people don't know how to fix cars, myself included. You know what I mean? I don't even own a car, let alone how to fix a car, how to change an engine or whatever, whatever. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know any of that. But the pressure is on. People are seeing it's not all sweet. Big brother or daddy, whatever government is not just, gonna spoon feed you your reality on a day-to-day basis, even though they may try to give that impression on a day-to-day. You know what I mean? Cause havoc here and cause less havoc there, or whatever. Tax this person, not tax that person. All right. In the face of nature, it means nothing ultimately. Things are gonna change, and I think that a lot of people who were asleep are waking up to the fact, myself included, that you gotta be prepared. You gotta be prepared, meaning that you gotta be able to work from within. You gotta be able to see a problem and solve a problem, regardless of who's helping you, regardless of who's not. Because right now in the United States, the situation might be a little sweet to a lot of people. Like, oh, I got this time off school. Oh, I just gotta stay home. I don't have to work, blah, blah. Do you really think this can go on forever? You really think the government's gonna let you eat and watch TV and have heating and have police and all this on their dime? They don't care what's going on, man. They gonna feed you. Like, I'm just saying, you gotta be prepared, man, in every way, starting from within. And this is why it's so important that you find that peace, so that you can cooperate with people, so that you can have that empathy, you can have that compassion, so that you can be, you know what I mean? You can do what you need to do to be strong on the outside too. You can be prepared in more ways than one. Yeah, but it's a lot of uncertainty. So you got a lot of conspiracy theories. Like, I remember when 9/11 happened again, you had, oh, type this in wingdings or whatever, and it looks like two towers falling. So, all this nonsense that just immediately sprouted up. Oh, fold the dollar bill like this, the $20 bill like this, and it looks like the towers are being, consumed by smoke, and and now you're hearing about 5G towers and all that, and it's just, out of this uncertainty, you're gonna get a lot of information. So you got to sift through it. You got to be very discerning about what information you let in your head. Is it positive? Is it negative? Is it completely useless? You can't just have a bunch of useless information floating around. You got to be truly informed But you gotta relieve some stress. You can't be just focused on the horrors of this virus. Focus on the recovery. Look at Australia. Of course, they handled the virus totally differently than we did here. The way we handled it in of itself was a catastrophe here in the United States. But they have a relatively very high recovery rate. You know, the United States, it looks kind of grim. Hospitals are, like I said, they're, unfortunately, a lot of them are past capacity. And if you look at the reality of the situation, you got people, you got these nurses, they're people, these doctors, they're people. They're susceptible to this virus as well. What's going to happen when they get sick? Then you got volunteers step in. So it's not, always have hope. It's not a hopeless situation. Keep drawing breath, keep fighting, keep getting stronger. Beat this virus, man. I'm just like, beat it. You know what I mean? Like, this virus is supposed to be this enormous threat. Just beat it, and then just come out of it stronger. Come out of this fire, this this trial by fire, even stronger. So change is inevitable. Suffering is inevitable. Non-self. These are the three marks of existence. Non-self is all about we all united under heaven by our suffering, by our impermanence. Non-self. Some might call it the Most High. You know, non-self is just my heart beats in my chest, my thoughts beat in my head, but that doesn't make me some exotic substance or material. I'm no different from the animals that are now reclaiming their space in nature. I'm no different from the sun in the sky. I'm no different from, we're all impermanent. We all as beings go through these changes, and as sentient beings, we all suffer. How deep down a rabbit hole do you want to go? Does the sun suffer? We're not really going to get into that. You know what I mean? But, you know, you got to look for the good in things. Platonism is a concept called, the transcendentals, the good, the true, and the beautiful. The truth is a lot of people are dying. So the truth, it can be complex because the truth is there's a lot of people recovering. The truth is there is hope, but the truth is it's a very bleak situation that we've never really been in before. The good, it comes from the true, but just look at the beautiful, you know what I mean? Go watch a sunrise and, feel the wind and, talk to loved ones and ask them how they're doing and check in on people. Don't be ashamed, don't be shy. Like, oh, I waited too long. I waited for the world to end before I acted like I cared. Never mind that, man. This is the time to care. Pour it on. Pour the care on. And this is all very epistemological, ontological, just on the theory of knowledge and the nature of being. But I'm just saying, like, uncertainty principle is basically, just it it emphasizes the limit to precision, the limit to knowing positions and accuracy, and basically all that stuff, in quantum physics. So out of uncertainty, you have a lot of things, a lot of possibilities, basically. So out of those possibilities, you might as well just manifest your own reality. Go into the philosophy of mind, the power of thought, self actualization, and you can evolve. You can transcend this apehood, you can transcend your slave state, whatever mind state you had, whatever characteristics you had, you can doff them at this point. You know what I mean? If you can't go outside, go inside, go within. And remember, you embody that which you consume. So you can construct your own future out of uncertainty, but you got to open up your mind, man. You got to free your mind. Don't fall for the paranoia aspect. The economic impact of COVID-19, it'll work itself out. You just have to be, but first, you can't be knocked down. You can't be knocked over. Make sure that you're eating right every day. Make sure that you're not overwhelmed with depression. So those of you out there who have lost people, who are uncertain, who have people in hospital beds, I'm very sorry. This is horrible, you know. And there's more to come. And I'm sorry to say, you know, everything is taking a heavy blow from, you know, people's everyday lives being uprooted, infrastructure is being shaken in this country. You gotta rise above it. If you find yourself on a hospital bed, make sure you fight. Make sure you fight. Beat the virus. Beat fear. If it's the fight of your life, you win. I don't care if you never fought. If you never fought a day in your life, if you fought and you never won a day in your life, win the fight of your life. And then you come back sanctified. You understand me? There's a lot of information overload, conspiracy theory. Just try to maintain peace. You know, what do you think is going on? You know what I mean? What do y'all think is going on? You think these officials have the answers? Or are they running scripts? I'm asking the question. Are they trying to maintain the illusion of control and cast a spell on us? Who's trying to capitalize? Is martial law impending? Are you turning to God in these times? What do you believe? What should you do now based on those beliefs? You know, our human niches got to be like these animal niches that are being fulfilled now that we're not overpopulating and occupying their habitats. You know what I mean? We got to reclaim, like I said, we got to reclaim our dignity. You know, socially distancing. I feel like it's just uber ironic. It's just what the entire 2010s was about. It was about fronting on the gram and Snapchat and with a lot of fronting, man. You know what I mean? Like, people, they don't even brush their teeth in the morning and they on Instagram talking this nonsense, that nonsense. And now hygiene is at the top of the list, you know what I mean? And unfortunately, you know, we're being forced to socially distance. People in their phones all day or whatever, you know what I mean? So I just find it all hyper ironic. But, you know, I wouldn't get too spooky about it. You know, this isn't the first coronavirus, you know what I mean? This isn't, you know, it'll pass. It'll pass through us. You know, most of us are going to make it. And I hope that you make it. And I hope that everybody you care about makes it. And I hope that you all make it out of that into better versions of yourself. Novelty theory, man. If you can't go outside, go within. All right. That's the podcast for today. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you next time, okay? Peace.
Well, novelty is not necessarily good or nice. Novelty is complex. That's what it is. And so I see really a concatenation of tendencies and forces here at the end. It's only going to get weirder. The level of contradiction is going to rise excruciatingly, even beyond the excruciating present levels of contradiction. So I think it's just going to get weirder and weirder and weirder, and finally it's going to be so weird that people are going to have to talk about how weird it is. And at that point, novelty theory can come out of the woods, because eventually people are going to say, what the hell is going on? It's just too nuts. It's not enough to say it's nuts. You have to explain why it's so nuts. Our own decision to view the universe as dead, as inanimate, as unintelligent, permitted us to dissect it, use it, and deny its validity outside of human purpose. Now the consequences of living like that is coming back to haunt us. You know, we have almost destroyed our home. We have almost cut the earth from beneath our own feet. So this impulse toward the Gailanic and the archaic is a survival instinct. the good news is that as primates, we're incredibly adaptable to change. Put us in a desert, we survive. Put us in the jungle, we survive. Under Hitler, we survive. Under Nixon, we survive. We can put up with about anything, and it's a good thing because we're going to be tested to the limits. The breakdown of anything, and this is why the right wing is so alarmed, because what they see going on is the breakdown of all tradition, all order, all sanctioned norms of behavior. And they're quite right that it's happening, but they're quite wrong to conclude that it should be resisted or is somehow evil. The mushroom said to me once, it said, "This is what it's like when a species prepares to depart for the stars. You don't depart for the stars under calm and orderly conditions. It's a fire in a madhouse." And that's what we have, the fire in the madhouse at the end of time. This is what it's like when a species prepares to move on to the next dimension. The entire destiny of all life on the planet is tied up in this. We are not acting for ourselves or from ourselves. We happen to be the point species on a transformation that will affect every living organism on this planet at its conclusion.